sister, it's Tuesday. And well, first of all, I hope you're having a beautiful day. And I hope that you know you're so damn beautiful and powerful because I have a woman here that's probably one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in real life. I met her in Miami a couple months ago. Her name is Susan Miner. She's a supermodel turned therapist, and she's so powerful. Welcome to the podcast, Susan. I'm super stoked to have you.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy we could do this. Yeah.
Oh, when I met you, so we met in Miami through
hmm
Danny Cardozo on a shoot. And when I saw Susan, I was like, her face is perfect. Like your beauty in itself, exterior, it's angelic, it's stunning. And that's the model life, right? You see these beautiful exteriors. And I think a lot of people forget that we do have interiors as well. But when I
hmm
started to speak to you, we went and grabbed a drink after, and there's so much beauty inside of you, and I was like, this woman's like special, and she has a story, and like her story needs to be told. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here with us because you are full of wisdom, and I know today is going to be such a powerful day for all the listeners on the pod right now.
Well, I was thinking the same thing about you. You get these green eyes and your bright smile, and I was dazzled. And then we went to get a drink, as you said, and let's tell them what kind of drink it was. You wanna?
Yeah, it was like what it was like
It was green
supernatural
drink.
juices.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. It was a juice. It wasn't tequila, people.
Yeah, it wasn't. We were
It wasn't.
natural juicing, 100%.
We were juicing. So yeah, so it was great to meet you, and I'm excited to be here. I'm exactly wait, you're 32, I'm
Yes.
52.
Wow.
Yeah, 52
You look
today.
fucking amazing. I would not have believed
Thank you.
that.
Thank you.
Wow.
So my life now as a therapist, it's been 22 years now, and I'm starting to put it all together, meaning the being a model part and the beauty part and being a
Mm,
therapist. So I'm
mm.
finding that niche in our inner beauty, enhancing our outer beauty, because it really does. And it all works together because if we're more peaceful, what do? We don't grab donuts, right? We might go get a juice.
Yes.
Um, and that helps us stay slim. It also helps us not eat so much sugar, so the cortisol isn't going through the roof and our skin's cracking
Mm.
prematurely, and whatever it is, right? So our inner peace really enhances our outer beauty. So it's an interesting combination of the model and therapist.
Yes. Which I
So
cannot wait to explore with you because can you briefly tell the audience about your modeling journey when you started? And I mean, you have modeled for the top brands of our time. Your face has graced so many covers. I would love to share like your modeling journey as a young woman and then how you became a therapist and why.
okay, so there's the shorter version of
Yes.
the modeling story was I started in a little town, and I begged my mother to go to modeling school because the girls at swim camp had said to me, "You should be a model," and I was like,
Mm,
"Okay, right." And there was a
yeah.
modeling school, so I pushed my mom. It took me like 3 months to get her to say yes. She brought me, and then from there, it just one agent after another found me, one in Boston, one in New York. And then once I got to New York, I went off to Paris and then Milan. In Milan, I was working just nonstop. And when I came back to New York, I finally came back, and I went to New York City. I moved there. I had one suitcase, and that was back before we had rollers, or I didn't have rollers on my suitcase. So I was carrying
Wow.
that thing. That thing was
Yeah.
heavy. I had I had two. I owned two pairs of pants, and
Wow.
my agency. I called them still from a payphone, so I'm calling them from a payphone, old school. And they're like, "You've got a casting. It's right now. It's for American Vogue, and it was at a hotel." So it was a cast, like a cattle call, right? So
Yeah.
all the editors were there, and when I got there, well, I had my boyfriend's pants on and a pair of cowboy boots, right? And
I love it.
I like my hair. I washed. I was clean. I didn't own a brush. You know, it was just my MO. And,
Yeah.
you know, they'd brush my hair on Monday morning
How
at
old were
work.
you at this time?
18,
Wow,
19,
baby.
19.
Yes.
Yeah, baby. Right. And then, so there's a woman named Mellen, who I didn't know who she was, but at the time she stood up and she was, you know, like an iconic editor at American Vogue. And she said, "Susan Miner, darling, where have you been?" And I was like, "Italy, you know?"
Yeah.
So that was that. So
Wow.
just one step in front of the other. I didn't beat a lot of pavement. People just found me.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's such a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
So now you're modeling, and was therapy in your mind? Like, how did you get from this beautiful world of beauty, being in front of the camera, gracing all these covers, to wanting to aspire to help people, to wanting to learn about the mind, to really hone in on this incredible gift? You're a gift to us. Therapists are the gifts to humanity. So I thank you.
Yeah.
How did you
Yeah.
get there?
Well, it was probably twofold.
Mhm.
And one was that if the shit hit the fan, anytime, even when I was younger, if someone's passed out naked in the bathroom, they'd get me. Figure it out.
Mm.
Some girl gets their period, doesn't know what it is, they get me. Girl gets pregnant, they, yeah, come get Susan,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So I just had this, like, even, I don't know what it was. It was always like that. So there's one. The second thing is not altruistic at all. I was a hot mess. I was a mess. Anxiety, depression,
Mm.
post-traumatic stress, insomnia, you know, lovely things, right?
Yes.
And trying to fly around the world with that was pretty brutal.
Wow.
So, you know, I was always trying to fix myself
Yes.
with transformational therapists, psychologists sometimes. Oh, you name it, I tried it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've
Self-help
been there
book,
too. Yes.
right? Right?
Yes.
You're like, oh,
Anything you can get your hands on to
I'm on
help
my,
you.
yeah, I'm on my
Yeah.
head. I'm good. It's fine.
Yes.
I'll stand on my head. I'm good. That's fine. I'll do that.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so I feel you on so many levels, because I feel like when we're dealing with these illnesses, especially these mental illnesses, like the depression is so real, and you just want somebody to help you get out of these ruts, these dark times, and you start looking and searching and grabbing onto anything. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Books, therapists, workshops, all the things. So I know everybody listening here has probably have done that too.
Retreats. Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to guide you to the spiritual awokeness of peace, like you said in the beginning of the podcast, this inner peace
Yep.
that is there, but we have to find it, and we have to have the tools to get there.
Which is mostly a shovel, right?
Mm,
To dig out
yes.
our shame, dig out our guilt, dig out our anger, dig out our fear. We just need to dig that out. That's why I love energy work so much.
Yes.
But, you know, the inner peace, it's there. But when, you know, if you're, we know, let's say that, we all
Yes.
know when we're anxious, there's no relief
None.
because you can't get away from yourself.
Nope. And it's all in here, all in your mind.
Trapped.
Yes. And going
Trapped. Yeah.
fucking crazy. You're just losing it. I know that
Losing it.
feeling. It's like I
Yeah.
always say it, it's like quicksand. And I would always tell my mom that. I said I would feel like I'm in quicksand and I'm just like fucking drowning in it. And I'm trying to get out, but like it
Yeah.
sinks me
The
back
more you
in.
move and the more you try, yeah, the more you'll sink back in.
Yes.
Right. The more you struggle. Yeah.
Yes. It's so true. So true. And it's so cool to be able to talk to you about this. And it's so amazing because I know people that probably look at you and look at me and that are listening to us. They're like, they went through depression, they have anxiety. Why would they? Right? Because they only see exterior. And I want everybody to understand we have two worlds. It's exterior and interior, and a lot of us human beings have very similar interiors. Very.
We're more similar than we're not,
Yes.
including men and women, by the way.
Mm.
Right. But so if you're young or old or tall or short, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Male or female, we're very similar inside. Yeah. Yeah.
so much more than we think. So I want everybody to know that.
Well, and you bring up a really good point, because there's an interesting thing that happens when you're a model or an actress, let's say. So young girls, if you poll them, and I haven't seen the polls in the past couple of years, but 3 or 4 years ago, the polls of girls 13 to 17 or something like that, they would they wanted to be actresses or models. The grand percentage of them, and we assume they want to be actresses or models so that they'll feel validated in society of their worth, right?
Wow.
Why do we want anything? We want to be validated.
Yes.
And then, so if you are that, so okay, I am that, I am a model, right? I am on covers of magazines, I am, I'm making a lot of money, all that kind of stuff, right? I'm on the top of the food chain, and I'm depressed and I'm anxious. First of all, no one believes it, or no one believes it, or they don't think you need help. Because also another thing I think we tend to do if we're high functioning is that we just push through. Yes. We get it done. We get on that plane. Yes. And then, we might be like this.
Oh my God, yes.
Before you get on the camera, like, oh my God, then you're like,
and it's on.
Oh, yes. It's on. Wow, it's on, right? It's your job.
Yes.
Right?
You turn it on for your work. You turn it on for work.
And people know that if they're an attorney or if they're, whatever they do, you can turn it on. But yeah, so, and we get very fooled by appearances. So we assume beautiful is good, or beautiful is happy, right? Yes. Like those young girls think, I'll be happy, feel worthwhile if in fact I'm a model or an actress, right? So I'm getting the accolades from the outside world.
Right.
It's not the case. It's not the case
at all.
At all. And may I just venture to say,
yes,
and I've said this to my I mentor young models. So I do therapy with the young models, right? So they can understand. No, I can understand them. So we don't have to cut through any of the modeling stuff. We get it, right?
Right.
But I say to them, like, you jump into modeling in your 20s. First of all, the 20s are brutal.
Brutal.
Oh,
the worst.
Yeah. Your weight and this and guys and
your skin. Everything.
Everything. And then you add to that, okay, you got to be model skinny. Oh, great. Add to that, right? You're flying 100,000 miles a year plus. Add to that whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's like graduate school for, I don't know, self-worth, or I don't know what it is, but it puts such a toll on you in your 20s. That if you can get through it, I think it for me anyway, and I think for other women who've gone through this, or probably guys too, it builds your fortitude.
Yeah.
Or it makes you crazy. It's one or the other. You're going to go either way.
Literally.
You're going to be a nut job, and you're going to look like like that. Right? You see something, you're like,
oh man.
Oh, you look right.
It's true.
So, or you figure it out, right?
Yeah. And it's hard. Figuring out is not easy. And I think a lot of people get scared of that, because it's like we're all presented with this or that, like you just said. You can either go this route or that route. My dad, growing up, he said, you're either going to learn the hard way or the easy way. Choose one. Oftentimes I learned the hard way. You know what I mean? But
I would love to learn the easy way. If he knows the key, maybe he could sell it to me. Yeah.
Oh, my dad still doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But that's what our parents tell us, right? Like our parents are telling us these things. And now I'm like, because I've done some of the work and I'm still doing the work, it is hard and it's deep and it's a lot of unlearning and shedding and facing yourself. Yes, and deprogramming. And I just want to thank you, because therapists like you, Susan, are the catapults to becoming our inner peaceful selves that we've always desired. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they can be. They can definitely be. Sorry, I got
Yes.
like chapstick.
Yeah,
So
you're
yeah,
fine.
and they, you know, they can be. And then at the same time, you know, sometimes in therapy, you can overtell your story and re-traumatize yourself.
Yes, that's so
So
true.
there's a balance. So for your listeners, if you're young and you're just starting to go, you know, delve into yourself, I think it's really important to have someone you trust to tell your story to, one, two, maybe three people, you know, and then at a certain point, I think it's valuable to stop telling your story because your body doesn't know the difference between when you're telling the story or when you're living it. So if
Mm.
you're telling the story, let's say the fourth time or the fifth time, and you're upset and you're still crying and you're still feeling the body shame or whatever's coming up for you, that's your indication that it's time to stop telling it and it's time to start clearing it up.
Mm.
So the clearing it up, I do energy work, so I do emotional freedom techniques, I do energy medicine, Donna Eden stuff, she's fabulous. Um, Neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, like all
Mm.
that kind of stuff,
Yes.
um, begin to shift and change,
Yes.
right? Um, and that can be scary
Mhm.
because it's hard to do, but
But
it
it's
is
worth
scary
it
to look at yourself. It's totally worth it. Yeah,
because
it's totally
I
worth
had to I ventured into that. I went into energy healing and Reiki and I've done hypnosis
it.
and it was new for me. I've never done it before, so it was kind of a little anxiety at first, but when I was in the healing, the energy healing, it released so much
Mm-hmm.
pain and
Yes.
suffering that lived in my body and it blew my mind. Everyone I'd say, I said, look, it's going to be new and you might feel uncomfortable, just but surrender and let your body go. And Susan, what you just said is so powerful because it's true. It's changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was that girl that was telling a story and telling a story and getting more depressed and more depressed. And I was just like, what gives? And then
Mm-hmm.
I got into the healing and the journeying back to self, which what you just said, it's so true. So to everybody listening, Susan just gave you so much power in what she just said. You have to honor yourself when you have told your story too many times so you're not reliving it and then
Mm-hmm.
start doing the work. Thank you so much for that. That was so
Yeah, you're
powerful.
welcome. And it's something else that we touched on that I think is going to be important for them to know is that, so we talked about anxiety first, and I don't believe, oh, I could get in trouble for this. I don't believe anxiety is a mental disorder.
Mm,
I think anxiety and it could be sometimes just anxiety and depression. I think it's from our environments,
mm.
right?
That
I
has a
don't
huge
know.
impact. I agree.
Huge impact.
Yep.
I don't know what percentage of people have anxiety, terrible anxiety or terrible depression who had just wonderful childhoods and were
Mm.
perfectly safe and cared for. I mean, I don't know any. So
Me
if you
neither.
need one, that'd be great.
Yep.
Um, so the idea is I don't believe anxiety and depression is a mental disorder. I don't believe really it's in the mind as well. It's
Mm.
it can become habits, but it's primarily in the body. And
Mm.
what you said is, you know, once you've got some, in my opinion, once you've got some understanding, once you've been heard and validated, it's your body that's trapped this trauma,
Yes.
right? So
That's
you got to
true.
get it out. And so if I'm trying to see, so to get it succinctly for your listeners, if you have anxiety or depression, begin to work through your body to release it.
Mm.
And you mentioned Reiki,
Yes.
the emotional freedom techniques, tapping it's called, um, hypnosis, EMDR.
Mm.
EMDR you have to do a lot. It, um, that's more specialized,
Mm-hmm.
but you can find therapists who do these things. And anyway, or people who are healers. That's my
Yes.
recommendation. Yeah.
Yes. And I also want to recommend acupuncture because that
100%.
helped me so much, Susan. When
Mhm.
I was in my lowest lows in my 20s, my stomach was off and my anxiety was through the freaking roof. I couldn't eat. Like my spleen and my stomach were literally dumping each other. I couldn't hold any food down, up or down. and I was losing it. I got so frail. And my girlfriend's like, you need to see my acupuncturist. I flew to New York from Atlanta, and this woman changed my life.
Mhm.
This
It's
woman,
energy.
yes, it's energy.
It's energy.
And I
Yeah.
believe that because I lived it in this, I will forever go to acupuncture because the chi and this ancient Chinese medicine, it's so powerful. It's real. I agree with everything you're saying.
Yep.
100%. 100%.
And
Now I
it's good
want
to
to,
share. Yeah.
yeah, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into this idea you and I were talking about earlier about vanity and this vice versus virtue, because I
Yes.
think it's such a beautiful topic to talk about, especially now the days that we live in now. And I want to hear your insight on it. And you've lived this world. I've lived this world, and there's a huge difference between vice and virtue in this
And
idea of
virtue.
vanity.
Which one do you want to talk about first? Vice or virtue?
Let's talk about vice.
Okay,
Vice,
vice.
because we all got a vice. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So vanity as a vice is when we get overly concerned with our appearances. We're on Facebook 24/7 comparing ourselves. Comparison to other people about our looks is the best way to get depressed. So if you want
Mm,
to do that, compare yourself all day.
mm,
Um, the other vice it can be is that um, denying that we are vain.
mm.
Okay, so I'm vain. Let's just put it that
Same.
way. I want my skin to look good.
Yep.
I want my hair to look good.
Yes.
I want to fit in my jeans. I want my nails to look good. My toes. Oh, my
Yes.
feet. Right?
Yes.
Um, all the time. 2 days ago I hadn't shaved in like 4 days, and I had gotten my period, and I'm just like, ugh,
I
ugh,
know that feeling.
ugh. My boyfriend's like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." I'm like, ugh.
You.
Right? I was
I
like,
know that
oh,
feeling.
I'm so gross. I'm so gross right now. So, but by the time my bath is over here, took a bath, shaved my legs, right?
It's a
So,
thing.
washed
Yes.
my hair, my life changed.
Yes. The
It
little
did.
things.
My mood changed, right? So we are vain, and I also think it's a vice when we don't talk about it with other women. So we'll swap beauty tips.
Yes.
You and I might swap a beauty tip about, like, say, emu oil or something
Yes.
like that, right? Or the women my age, we're talking about Botox. Girl, where do you get your Botox?
Yeah.
Go here. Don't go to this other one because she puts it and you look, weird. She's like, you know, my girlfriends, they'll come over. I'll be like, no, you need this and this filler. No,
Hmm.
like, don't do that. No,
That's a girl talk for life. Yes.
totally, right?
100%. We're all having these
100%.
conversations.
We're all having these conversations. Um, and and yet I don't think we have the conversation about supporting each other's beauty inside and out, or it being okay if we're vain. I don't know. It seems like there's a little shadow on it.
Yeah.
What's
I
your
think you're right
idea?
because when you say vain, it's automatically it's a negative connotation for me because we were always
Right.
thought to be vain is to be negative. It's you're narcissistic in a sense, like you only care about your looks or
Don't
it's
be so vain.
yeah,
Don't be so vain. Right.
that's literally the saying.
Right.
Wasn't there a song about being like why are you
You
so
probably
vain?
think, yeah, you probably think this song is about you.
Yes, you're so vain. And guess
But,
what? It probably fucking was about that girl that she thought that song was about. It probably was. It 100% probably was.
right.
I mean, let's be
Right.
honest. And
Right.
what's wrong with that? What's actually wrong with that? What you just said to me, Susan? It's like, yeah, I love my nails. I love my hair. My skin right now is like I'm on it hard. My toes for sure. Waxing, keeping my skin clear from fucking razor bumps and ingrown hairs. Like that's like I'm hairy as hell, Susan. So like it's a thing for me. It's a
I'll,
thing.
I'm plucking and waxing and lasering.
Oh,
I know.
ugh. And I have to take care of myself. And if that makes me vain, then so be it. Then so be it. But why do we take that on as such a negative thing? Do you think it has
Well,
to do with patriarchy too?
It's exactly where I'm going with this.
Let's
So
hear this.
it's just a thought I had. So patriarchy tells us that you're valued only if you're beautiful. You're valued if you're thin. You're valued if you're beautiful. You're valued for the piece of meat you are, how sexy you are,
Yes.
your tits and your ass, and what you're willing to do with them.
Can
Right?
I add
That's
skin
value.
color too? Because for women of color, that's a whole nother realm.
Oh
Oof.
yeah. Oh, my woman,
Yes.
she's light and like,
Yes.
oh yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, you're so right.
Oh, you're so right. Yeah, of course. Oh yeah,
Wow.
white women, the
Yes.
status of that with, oh, don't even get me started.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's on the one side. And then on the other side, the patriarchy is telling women not to be vain. So it's almost like you can't win,
Mm.
right? This is your value, but don't be vain. Your value is totally in your looks, but don't be
Wow.
vain, right?
Wow.
And we're not gonna pay attention to you for anything but your looks, by the way. So then I think we women, I had this inside me. um, we desire to be seen for more than our bodies and our faces,
Wow.
right? We desire to be seen for our, or heard for our brains and felt for our brains.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Like my mind is blown right now because I'm thinking about this. Like, whoa, you're right.
Yeah. Excuse me,
And,
got itchy out there.
and that's kind of like the entire way to keep a woman oppressed, to keep us literally and divided, by the way. It keeps this
Yeah.
divide amongst women and this oppressed, confused feeling. How do we overcome that? Like, how do we overcome that?
Well, I think first thing is recognition. Have you ever listened to R.C. Blake's?
No, I haven't.
Interesting dude on YouTube, and I don't know if it's his terminology. I just heard it from him. He calls it sex slave conditioning. So
Wow.
women, if you think about it, right? Women are, it's like MK Ultra on a mass scale. So they're taught to be, women are taught to be sex slaves. So it started with the pole. So pole dancing, everyone's doing pole dancing. My daughter was
Mm.
conceived when I was taking a pole dancing class,
Oh.
right? And it was just women. It was a nice one, but we're pole dancing. And then the stripper shoes. Remember when those big platforms came out?
Huge.
Huge. I
Yes.
was like, they're stripper shoes.
Yeah.
It's high fashion now? No, they're stripper shoes,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Great. So and then on, you look, my boyfriend, God bless him, he doesn't anymore, but there's these girls that would come up on his Facebook that were from where he lived, just tits everywhere and
Mm.
ass, like literally the girls are leaned over. And I'm like, okay, bathing shoot shots, wonderful. You're at the beach, you look fabulous. But if it's like, so it's like porn.
And they're
Why?
young.
And they're young, and why are they doing this? Because they want to be loved,
Yes. And
right?
validated
And
and
validated
seen.
and seen. But they're also contributing, they're partaking in the programming of being a sex slave, and they're
Mm.
they're they're enacting their programming,
That's
which
so
is
interesting.
against them, right? So they're willingly participating in a program that hurts them.
This is so intriguing to me. Can I challenge this on the other side? Because
Yeah, be great.
there could be some listeners saying, but what if that woman just is really, in tune with her divine feminine? What if she's just a sexual being and she's been in this environment where she's brought up in this world to where she's exposed to her nudity and embraces her body and honors that in some type of way, young or old? Would that make sense?
It does make sense. And I also have to um, preface everything I say is through my lens
Yes. Yes.
and my beliefs and my age as well.
Yes.
So yes, Absolutely.
Yeah.
My question would be to anyone,
Yeah.
whether it's a girl who's you know, has all these ass pictures on Instagram
Mhm.
or boob pictures on Instagram, how does she feel?
Mm.
That's the first
Mm.
thing to ask. So I
Yes.
think that's in response to what you're saying. So could it be all that? I would
Yes.
say if the girl feels empowered, if she feels free, if
Mhm.
she feels beautiful, if she's valued, if she finds that in her environment, do the men value her
Mm.
or do they treat her badly?
Yes.
So that's where I would point.
Yes. I
Yeah.
love that. I think that's beautiful because I know women are listening and they may agree or disagree with us, but like you said, it's our opinions, and that's the beauty of the world that we live in. We have the right to have our opinions and what we learn and what we've endured through, our time here on this in this lifetime. And I think what you just said is powerful. How do they feel? Can we if we were able to talk with that woman, with that girl, and to hear about their interior world. Now, if that matches the exterior where they do feel the value and all the positivity from, embracing that empowered
And the
feminine,
power, yeah. Mhm.
yes, then kudos. Like I can honor that. But then if it
Totally.
doesn't match, there's no cohesion between the interior and exterior, then that's where this idea comes in, and it's sad. Sad.
Yeah, and are they saying I can't find a good man? I can't find a man who treats me well. Are they saying that? I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. And I think that's so intriguing. It's such an intriguing question because it's so true. And I feel like a lot of times we women, because I can talk from my own experience. For instance, my mom was never very feminine. My mom was very kind of like tomboy. She had me when she was 17. She had 5 kids by the time she was 25. She was My mom was cool, but she wore like the long shorts, baggy shirts, like, and she was a mom. Like, that's what she was, like, that's what she embodied: a nurturing, loving, caring, hardworking ass mom. She'd always make sure we were good and then go to work. Like, that was my life. So I never was feminine growing up. I never was exposed to the power of the feminine and this sexual aspect of me and this side of me that as an adult now I'm exploring, and I fucking love it. I fucking love it. But
Yeah.
as a young girl, I wasn't exposed to that, right? So like you said earlier, we are what our environment consists of, which is so true, especially as these kids, because we're molded at this time. And we
Hmm.
are our environment, period. Every child becomes their environment. And it's up to us to de-shed and unlearn these things that weren't correct in our environment growing up. So I think it's so cool because you're right. Like my interior world then too had no self-worth. My mom didn't have self-worth. She was just a mom. That's all her value was. It was taking care of us. And I look at that, and I was modeling when I was young. I was there smiling pretty, right? Because I have these big blue eyes and this smile and this curly hair. But I had no sense of value. I had no sense of worth. And I was dating toxic men. I was in these really bad relationships. So I'm just reflecting as we're talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, you have a lot of validity to what you're saying, in my experience anyway. It's so interesting. It's very interesting. And I was always a tomboy. So like, I mean, I never took those sexy shots until I'm older now and I'm feeling empowered, and I'm finding out my sexual side, and I'm learning about my body and feeling good in myself for the first time ever in my life, and rediscovering all parts of being a woman, because I feel like there's so many parts of us, and that's why we're so motherfucking powerful.
Hmm.
And that's why we are oppressed, I believe, in this patriarchal system.
It's why we are oppressed. Absolutely. I think the system primarily oppresses men and teaches them to oppress women,
Ooh, that's powerful.
right?
Yeah.
So, well, I think you're a good example, not example, but what, okay, what would you say to girls or to women
Mm-hmm.
about exploring their bodies and their sexual side, and what would be questions you'd have them ask themselves, or where would you have them focus? I don't know, because
I,
you're experiencing it.
yeah, I think I was only able to experience my sexual self until I actually knew who I was, until I understood my essence as a woman. Like, I didn't know who Letitia was. I was always told to play sports or to model or to do this. I never really knew what I wanted because I never was able to have the sense, I never had a sense of self. And that might sound crazy to people listening and even to you, but I never had a sense of home inside of me. I've always was led.
I think people can relate to that. Yeah.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I never, like, honing into my intuition too as a woman has been the most magical part of my journey, like right now. And like knowing that we women have this gut and this feeling that is so powerful, and uncovering that and being like, wow, like, and we create life in this space too. Like,
Right.
and so I would say to these young girls and to women is spend time alone until you spend time alone with self and ask yourself these questions and look in the mirror and understand that yes, I've I am anxious. I've dealt with depression. I have all of these insecurities. I am vain. And start uncovering and asking myself why and where did it come from, and understanding my childhood and my past. I had to do this with a lot of support because I couldn't do it by myself.
Of course. Yeah.
I did it with talk therapy. I wasn't there. I'm still in therapy. I was doing it at the time though, twice a week on top of all these other things that I was doing. So I think for these women, I would say you have to spend time alone with self and write and talk to self. I talk to myself every day because I want to know what she wants, what I want. Like, think about this. We talk to our girlfriends every single day, people every single day, and give them advice and help and all these things and guidance and love. And when we talk to ourselves, people think we're crazy.
Or we have a habit of just being mean to ourselves and criticizing ourselves,
Yeah.
opposed to the encouraging. Yeah, I say to people like, "Would you talk to your best friend like that? Like how you
Yeah.
talk to yourself?" No, I would never. You never call your best friend a fat pig, but you're going
No.
to call yourself that. Did you know? Or stupid,
So true.
or an idiot. Like, no, you would never talk to your friend like that.
Yes. And if you have young girls and young women around you, they're absorbing that negative talk and they're taking it on. I remember I had to check my mom a couple months ago because my mom's always had weight issues, and she was like, I'm fat, I'm fat. And we were on my nieces, and I said, Mom, and I pulled her to the side. I said, Mom, you can't do that anymore. You have to take accountability for the way you feel and start taking care of yourself and working out. Because what you're doing is you're creating these issues and these dynamics of body images. These problems are going to bleed into my niece. They've already bled into other parts of our family. I can't let it bleed anymore. Like, you got to take care of yourself. And it was hard to have that hard conversation with my mother, but I had to do it because I think we're not aware of how we do affect people, especially like older women, like us. Like, I'm still young, 32, but at 20, at 15, we women are looking for other women to look up to. Like, that's all we have are the examples of women, right?
Mhm.
I think that's powerful too. I think we have to really start holding ourselves accountable and to start being these examples for our youth.
And when we make a mistake, go back and say, you know what? I was just complaining about this and I want to just take
Yes.
that back. You know what?
Yes.
I'm going to be nice to myself.
Yes.
How about I took a walk yesterday and I ate a very healthful lunch, and I'm happy right now with you, and whatever that is, right? So we can,
Yes.
one of the biggest things as well is to be kind to ourselves
Mm.
in this whole process, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah.
And it's not always easy. And you have to be aware, right? Like,
Hmm.
I think forgiving yourself is first and foremost. That's like the first one of the major keys for me to start this journey of finding self and being patient, and
Mm-hmm.
then being patient and being graceful with myself that leads to kindness, and
Yeah.
understanding that regression is a part of the journey. We're going to regress, like you just said.
It's going to go back and forth. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And being
Absolutely.
okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're so hard on ourselves as women, as you explained earlier.
We are.
Why do you
We are.
think that is?
I'm, gosh. I think part of it, it's in our cells based on evolution through
Mm.
thousands of years of us being in our ego, and that sort of progression. I also think it starts the second we're born, from the people in our lives who are programmed. So
Mm.
if we have in the mass media, in movies, in TV shows, everything you see is a program, and they're it's deliberately being done to make you think a certain way.
Yes.
So, how do you create consumers? How do you create pliable people who are just going to do whatever you say?
Mm.
How do you have power over people? Is you make them feel bad about themselves. You don't empower them. So that's done in a physical way with the chemtrails. It's done with the heavy metals put into food. It
Mm.
makes you anxious. It's done with all the chemicals that are FDA approved, that are toxic. It's
Toxic.
done with everything you see. If you flip on a sitcom, what do you see? You see, for example, okay, the guy's a fat dummy, and he's got a pretty wife, right? Or you see the main female character, she's a bit of a bitch, and like she's
Mm.
unreasonable, right? Or you
Mm.
see couples arguing and then getting married. Or you'll see people meeting and then 3 days later, he's professing his love to her.
Yeah.
Oh, marry,
Oh.
marry me. Or
Yo,
they're having
Barb.
sex. They're having sex the third day.
Yeah.
If you choose to do, oh, believe me, girl, I've been there. First day, whatever, right?
I've
Oh,
been there too.
I am not going to say I've been sitting home knitting, but what I am going to say is it's not necessarily the best thing to do,
Yeah. You're
right? So
so right.
we're never taught what's going to make us feel good about ourselves. It's the same with, okay, get back to modeling business. It's the same with that too. Um, all the oh, there's so many things I could say. I'm gonna get in trouble, but just the extreme thinness, the
Yeah.
Photoshop, all that, and yeah. So
You know what's so beautiful about you? You care so much, right? So you're like, I'm going to get in trouble. But I'm like, why are we going to get in trouble for sharing our truths? Like, these are our truths that we've experienced. And again, that's this part of shame that still lives inside of us. Like, we're so worried that people are going to shame us for being fucking honest about things that we've lived. That's our
right, or
truths.
say we're wrong, or say
Yes.
we're whatever, conspiracy theorists, or
Yes. And for everybody listening right now, I'm not saying you have to agree with everything I say or what Susan says. I'm
totally.
not there is no mandate that saying everything this podcast says is absolutely right. No. It's your choice.
You don't know, yeah. Well, and
Yes.
it's also your choice today, and you might choose tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's the same
Yes.
for us, because we can only see through the lens of us today,
Mm.
and we will get more information tomorrow. We may change our mind,
Yes.
and that's okay. And this whole world is illusion.
Yes.
You're out in LA, that is illusion central.
Yes, it is, baby.
Between LA, between Hollywood and Washington,
Yes.
wow, illusion central. It's funny, I keep on trying to figure out how we can get back to the virtue.
Oh, we're going in.
How
Let's go into it. Let's flow into it. I'm literally looking at it in my book.
do I segue?
We're segueing into virtue right now.
All right, it's not a smooth segue, but let's see. So Winston Churchill, he said something to the effect that vanity is the vice that promotes so many virtues.
Mm.
So vanity is my primary motivator always.
Mm.
So I encourage people to say, okay, what's going to get you to do something? For me, it's vanity. So, you can know that weightlifting, when you lift weights over a long period of time, it prevents bone loss, right? And increases your bone density, and you won't get osteoporosis.
Yeah.
Oh, but if you lift weights, you'll have more muscle, and you need more calories, so you can eat more and stay thinner, or it builds muscle, and like your shoulders are going to look good in a tank top. I'm like, bing!
I'm there. I'm in. Sign me up.
Ooh, 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 lift the weights,
Yeah.
right? Or antioxidants. Talk about antioxidants, right? So if you eat organic food, maybe 20 to 40% more antioxidants,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And that helps your immune system. What else does it do? It reduces your inflammation.
Nobody's
But it's
listening.
but it's anti-aging. Woo?
She's awake.
Yeah, is this organic? Okay, all my organic stuff, right? So
So
that's
true.
where I see vanity is a virtue, because it can promote so many good, motivating things, and so you end up doing things that are good for you. Um, and I think when we're taking care of this vessel, it's self-love as well.
Yes.
So it all comes into the spirituality. So I think really what we need just to merge a little bit more, and or maybe I should say what I need to merge a little more is the care for the body and the vanity, and making it self-love,
Ooh, I love that.
right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, Susan, this is one thing that I've been exploring and I'm going to start helping a lot of people understand. What is self love? Because I feel like this idea is thrown around so much. And to somebody listening right now, it's like, yeah, I've heard it every day. I see a meme about it every day. I'm fucking hearing somebody talk about self love. What is self love to the listener listening right now? What is self love to you? Because I feel like to all of us, it's different because we all have to love self differently in certain ways,
It's a great question.
right?
Wow. I think self-love starts first and foremost with stopping things that are mean to yourself and things that are
Mm,
harming you. That's
mm,
first and foremost.
mm,
Stop.
mm.
Stop being mean to yourself. Stop hurting yourself.
Yes.
Stop sabotaging yourself. Stop being around people who are mean to you.
Yes.
That sort of thing. Then beyond that, I mean, it's a strange concept, because self-love, who are you loving? How many people are in there?
Yeah.
I Susan, I love you. Okay, which one? Which one is
Yeah.
which? Right?
Yeah. It's true.
And we can have that conversation, so the esoteric conversation, that one is our spirit, one is our higher self, one is our ego. I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe the best answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's such a beautiful thing because what you said is something that I've explored. You know, the bad negative talk, the I'm not enough, these feelings, again, that was a lot of self-work and uncovering a lot of childhood actual drama with there. That's how I was able to start loving myself. But I also think self-love is like getting our nails done, getting our hair done, right? It's that
Taking a
vanity
bath.
is a
Mhm.
virtue, taking a bath.
Right?
Yeah, like, and the more I do it, the more I'm like, loving myself is a lot of work.
It's a
It's
lot
it,
of work.
it's a lot of work getting up every day, having my morning routine, meditating, getting my mind right, working out, getting my nails done, talking to women that uplift me instead of the old friends that are just there to talk shit about people, creating boundaries, having therapy. And then on top of that, it's life. A
And then you got to
boyfriend.
work.
Yeah,
Uh,
then you got to go to work. Then you have
yeah.
mom and dad. Then you have family. And then you have friends. And then you have got to make a living. It's not the easiest process. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of
Well,
dedication.
it's a lot of dedication, and it's interesting because it's very much feminine. Caring for
Mm,
self is very feminine.
mm, yes.
And it's the nurturing of self can bring so much power into the male female dynamic, whether you're a man and a woman or two women or whatever. But that female energy, needs to be cared for. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be pampered, right?
Mm.
Then we can come forth being receptive. Like, so, like, how sexy are you and receptive when you haven't shaved? I mean, like, that's right.
Yeah,
If
100%.
our toes are chipped, we haven't
Yeah.
shaved, and we haven't, uh, for me, dyed my hair.
Yeah.
I'm not showing up as my feminine, radiant, receptive self. It's not going to happen, right?
Yes.
So, I also think it's an interesting time because we as women were out in the world in so many aspects, and I'm all for it. Um, and yet, you're right, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very saddened when I hear women are, they're working outside the home, wonderful, but they're working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. You know what I mean? Then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, when do they have time to nurture themselves?
Yes.
They don't. So that's when
Literally.
I see women's femininity go down the drain
Mm.
because they don't have that self-care time. Yeah.
Yes. And you know why also? Because we're taught to be selfless and we're taught to take care of everybody else from childhood. My grandmother,
Mhm.
like, it's this lineage thing, right?
Yep,
I
totally.
thought that from my mom too. So I was in these relationships where I didn't care about myself. I would do everything for the men, everything.
Totally. Oh, including bringing their plate.
Oh, literally.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, literally.
Yeah,
Get
like,
started.
yes. We're literally taught to be selfless. That's beautiful. Oh, she's so selfless.
Well,
Now,
once again, patriarchal society.
yeah.
If they make the rules, right?
It's wild, man. This conversation is blowing my mind, Susan. Like, you
Yeah.
have my mind going like this, and vanity is a virtue. It's so
And
true.
and you know what? In a patriarchal society, men screw themselves, or the
Mm.
society screws themselves. Because when you strip a woman and you just create a sex slave, or you create a woman who's just catering to the man or just taking care of the man, she's not doing these self-care things. She's not showing up in her radiant, sexual,
Yeah.
receptive being.
Yeah.
And you know what the man's getting? Awful sex. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Or he's not getting the surrendered,
Yes.
feminine
Yes. The
goddess.
divine
The-
goddess.
With
Oh,
oh, I just
my
got
boyfriend
chills.
calls it the goddess frequency. It's true.
It's true, and that needs self-care. I'm sorry,
Yes.
people. Yeah,
Yes.
and it needs
Ooh,
some
that's so
tenacity.
powerful.
Right.
It's so true. And we all have our own. Everyone has our own thing. Vanity is different to every listener on this phone right now.
Totally.
It's different to everyone, and honor it. Honor it and embrace it and fucking embody all of it, because what Susan just said, that God and frequency, that goddess frequency it's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And as a woman to embody that and feel it, Susan, I've just felt it as a 32-year-old woman, and holy shit, you feel unstoppable. I feel like the sky isn't the limit, actually. Like, I just feel like you you embody this divine of everything that makes you female. And I'm still learning so much more, but getting to this point,
We all,
it's like,
me too. Yeah.
yeah, it's so cool. It's fun.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
fun. Wow. I want to share this with you because we're talking about women right now and these things that make us, feel empowered, or this vanity, right? I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday on the phone, very powerful woman. And she was talking about men. She works in the corporate world. And she said, I work with all these corporate guys and they're losing their shit. I said, what do you mean? She goes, think about it. Men, excessively like CEOs, like CEO men, like rich, powerful men. She goes, they're losing it in COVID. They're fucking losing it. I said, what do you mean? She goes, think about it. These men get off driving their Maseratis to work, wearing their cool, expensive watches, having the affairs, not being home till late, doing whatever they want. But for them, that's their vanity. The cars, the lux, these things. Some of them anyway, not all. Some.
Yeah.
I'm not going to generalize. And I was like, holy shit. She's like, they're struggling in COVID. Now they're home, stuck in the house with no material things to make them feel manly, quote unquote, or to create this idea, this fantasy of what it is to be successful. And now they're stuck in the home every day with their wives and their kids.
And maybe with their wives and children that they haven't cultivated a nice
Yes.
relationship with, right?
Yes.
Wow,
And
I
when
never,
she told me that, I was like, whoa, because I'm not in that corporate world.
right.
And when she said that to me, it blew my mind. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I never would have known. But if you think about it, yeah, we all have our things, right?
Yes, we all have our vices. We all have these virtues.
Yeah, vices and virtues. And you know what? We can just support each other. Like I was loving what you were saying, that we can support each other to be beautiful inside and out.
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah,
And we,
and everyone's different, like you
yes.
said. Yeah.
Yeah. And Susan, we need to have these conversations more, you know? And, and to be honest with you, I grew up too with the father that raised me to beauty was from the inside only. Like if I acted out, he would call me like we were ugly. Right.
Mhm.
So like he never,
Oh, he said that's ugly. Ooh, I know that
yes,
term. Yeah,
yes. So like,
interesting.
so I was never aware of my exterior beauty. I was always really focused on my inner beauty, which I'm grateful for. But as a
Yeah,
woman, as I was growing up, people would always be like, "Wow, you're so beautiful." Wow, your blue eyes, and I'd always be like, "Dude, they're just blue eyes. Relax. Like, what are you talking about?"
right.
I never.
Well, they are pretty spectacular.
Thank you,
But yeah,
thank
yeah, but
you.
yeah.
But I was so unaware of my outer beauty too. And what you're saying is so important. The inner and outer beauty conversations amongst us women really need to start being honored more,
Mhm.
both, and honoring it and being okay with being fucking vain, man. It's
Yeah,
okay.
it's okay.
It's
Yeah, it's not
okay.
a bad word. Is it
It's
four
not.
letter Pain? It is four-letter word.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Wow. This conversation is beautiful. It's you have my mind, and I know everybody listening flowing right now, and it's such a beautiful thing. And I wanna come back to you before we end this incredible episode and ask Susan, the 19-year-old Susan that was at that Vogue call, if you could look Susan, 19-year-old in the cowboy boots and her boyfriend's jeans, what would you tell her and where her life was going to go? Because I think it's so much beauty when I did it in a hypnosis, actually, when I was trying to discover my self worth. And I had to go back and meditate to the first time I felt unworthy or not valued. What would you tell that 19-year-old Susan? What advice would you give her? How would you guide her?
You know, I would try to, the first thing my brain went to
Mm-hmm.
was that I would give her some warning signs,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd give her some hints. Like I had trouble, terrible trouble with Lyme's disease. I had
Mm.
it for 30 years, chronic Lyme's disease, and I just finally gotten rid of it. I had to get out of the country and tens and tens and tens of thousands of dollars, and
Wow.
I'm detoxed, I'm done, right? But I struggled with that. And so I'd want to give myself some hints about that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I could have told myself you're okay just the way you are.
Mm.
That if I could have somehow landed that in
Yes.
her, you know, like my best friend passed away like I don't know how many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But he said to me, he's like, Sue, you've always been trying to fix yourself, but you haven't realized you're perfect just the way you are.
That gave me
You know,
chills.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So, and he was literally dying, literally,
Wow.
like a month later he died. So, um, if I could imbue that, but I don't know how
Yeah.
do we do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a long road.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of your path, though. That's the journey. That's the path that we're living in this lifetime right now. And we had to go through it all to get to where you are now, where you're changing people's lives as a therapist.
And it's nothing gives me more joy than to help women.
Mm,
And I love the women in their 20s and 30s and even 40s because I
yes.
got some years on them and some experience.
Mm.
And the 50s are fabulous. I'm telling you right now, there's nothing
Oh,
better.
I get excited.
It gets better. Like all this like this word lessons we learn and the
Yes.
stuff we read and everything,
Yes.
and we get it, but now we get it as we
Yeah.
get older.
Like you,
So
do you feel like you embody it now fully?
I don't know about fully, better and
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Life is
I
getting
love
better.
that.
Life is getting so much better. I feel like I really have something to share, and it's my time
Mm,
to mentor and to I've been a therapist for 22 years, but
yes.
really step into that in a
Yeah.
powerful way. Yeah, so it's great.
Look, I always say there's nothing more beautiful than a woman stepping into her power. And it's dangerous in the best way of danger. Like it's
Yeah,
beautiful to watch, man. So I'm so happy for you. I am thankful for this conversation because it was one that's need to be had.
it
It
was great.
Yeah,
Thank
it was beautiful. And I want to tell everybody Susan's Instagram, it's Susan Minor Beauty, and her website is susanminorbeauty.com. You can contact her there. You can find her there. Are you doing therapy sessions like over FaceTime and Zoom and all that stuff too? If people are looking interested in therapy?
So, two things I'm doing primarily. One
Yes.
is the Beautiful Energy Program, which is an
Mm,
8-week, all encompassing, soup to nuts, uh, lower chakra clearing on up, lower level vibrations, like shame on up. It's
yes.
all specific order. So, that's 8 weeks. So, that's a program. You can find that at training.susanminorbeauty.com.
Okay.
I do very few individual counseling sessions now because I don't really have time,
Yes.
you know, but I do have a few openings.
Okay.
And I work on Zoom or I work on Skype.
Amazing.
Um, but yeah, I mean, my
Yeah.
favorite thing. Yeah.
You're a blessing, man. You're such a gift, Susan.
Thank you. You too, my dear. This has been fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad this has happened, and I'm grateful to have met you. And I can't wait to continue this journey with you and having like guides like you in my life, women that you can look up to and aspire, and that are here to listen and to share and to empower. So thank you forever. Shout out to Danny Cardozo for
Shout
bringing
out.
this together. Shout out to Dance and oh, girl, if y'all haven't heard, we got this. We got all of this, and it's the journey that we have to embrace. Susan, thank you so much.
We got this.